fabulous ones. Make way for the fabulous ones. Oh, I didn't put my light on. Professional. Not. Welcome to the SHEDcast. It is SHEDcast 15 on the 24th of June, 2020. And a bit of a different show for you this week because I'm on my own. Help. Don't know what to do. A few shout outs to folks. I'm drinking this week from my retro Guernsey mug, and that is an event that kicked off last year. Jeff and Dennis are the chumps behind it. Massive event last year with 50s, 60s vibe going on. And they were benefactor. No, benefactor? Yeah, benefactor of the Guernsey Shed. So shout out to Dennis and Jeff and all the team that make that happen. And one of the reasons I'm supping from their mug today, a very weak white coffee, otherwise I'll be jazzed, is this Friday. If you're in Guernsey this Friday, not sure if I should look at that camera or this camera or the screen. If you're in Guernsey this Friday, there is a retro Guernsey event happening at the Peninsula, I believe, with lots of music and dancing and frivolousness. So I hate to rub it in for all the Guernsey, from all the Guernsey folk. We're out of lockdown now in Guernsey. And I don't mean to rub it in to all the UK and beyond folks. Suffice to say, look, this is what you've got to look forward to. You can do it. Just stay home for the time being because it's worth it. And don't go too early because if you mess it up and you have to go back to square one again, you'll be really sorry. There we go. Now, what's happening this week? This week on the SHEDcast. I'm not flying completely solo today because Mark Smith, the Guernsey Shed chairman, is going to be talking with me on a pre-record about where Guernsey Shed came from. And we blame Patrick Abrams of the Froome Shed for that. More of that later. And after we've done that interview, it's about 20, 30 minutes, something like that, we'll PKO, put kettle on. Because after a while, we all need to East Springs and replenish our mugs. So we'll have a quick 5-minute break. And then I'm going to take you through a bit of photo history from the Guernsey Shed. I'm sure I've mentioned it once or twice before. We opened our shed formally in November last year, 2019. And that was almost 3 years to the month since we started out on this madcap adventure. What have you been doing for 3 years? You might well ask. Well, I'll tell you later. But suffice to say, we haven't been sitting on our laurels. We've been making a mess of a renovation project and then tidying it up again and then making a mess and then tidying it up again and then make rinse and repeat. More mess, more tidying, more tidying. Dan is with us online on YouTube today. Hi, Dan. Sheds Sans Frontières is still live, but I'm with you too. Ah, you've got a Shed Sans Frontières thing going on in the... Ah, right. Okay, so don't tell anyone because they'll all push off to your live stream. That's no good. Anyway, Dan, nice to have you with us. Miss you. Hopefully see you again soon. And another thing I've got to big up before we go any further, and I've got a thingy to shove in here. It is, in a couple of weeks' time, the SHEDfest 2020. And this year, it's a bit different. Normally, the SHEDfest has happened in the UK somewhere in the middle there, somewhere where sort of most people can get to within reason. Take over a conference venue and fill it with sheddy stuff, which is wonderful if you can get there. Coming from Guernsey, it's a bit of an expensive bit of water to cross. One of the most expensive bits mile for mile in the world. It's not a boast. But this year, it's virtually SHEDfest. Because of the whole lockdown business, we can't get everyone together. So UK Men's Shed Association is organising Virtually Men's Shed SHEDfest on the 7th to the 9th. That's the Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, I believe, if memory serves. And it runs from 10 every morning till about 1 or 2, depending on what sessions are going on when. So there's a few hours in the morning, over lunch, bring a picnic. And then there's an evening session from 7 till 8, which is rather informative stuff, rather good. Lots of discussion groups, and some of the sponsors and supporters of UK Men's Shed Association are going to be involved. Trying to think of the name. Ron Seal are going to be there, does what it says on the tin. Advertising works on me. Axminster Tools and Machinery are going to be there. They're having an input. And I'm going to shoot myself because I can't remember the third major sponsor. Triton. Is it Triton? Ooh, hope I got it right. Triton Tools. Oh, gosh. Triton. If you're not called Triton, I do apologize sincerely. But in the background, I've been involved, invited to be involved with some of the streaming business, because we've been doing this for, 15 shows now. They've asked for a bit of help, and I'm just joining in the team and holding a few people's hands, trying to work out how we do this streaming and how do you get lots of people in and how do you organize it, and when something goes wrong, because it does, how do you get the hell out of there and recover it? So we're brainstorming all of that and trying to make it as groovy and as cool as possible. Leo, Digital Communications Officer, who you met last week, is now busy frantically working out all the graphics, and people are sending in pictures and slides and videos. I've got a folder in the background as I speak that is getting populated. Peter Sefton's got videos and stuff. Chris Fisher, the blind wood turner. If you don't know about Chris Fisher, then you certainly need to know about Chris Fisher. He's an amazingly inspiring guy on so many levels. And they're all sending in their videos. In fact, I've got a video introducing Chris Fisher. So forgive me. Don't forgive me. Enjoy this. Can I give you a bit of Chris Fisher? He is speaking at the Shed Fest in a couple of weeks' time, and I heartily recommend that you get along virtually to that. But in the meantime, here's a preview of what and who Chris Fisher is all about.
I'm totally blind. I'm black blind. I got into wood turning because I wanted a vampire stake. I'm a huge horror film fan, and I didn't just want to get a stick out the garden and whittle the end. So I listened to a lot of YouTube videos, and I amassed 600 hours of knowledge. 600 hours, bought a lathe, taught myself, and that was approximately 6 years ago. And that's culminated now in me being the only totally blind accredited wood turner, the first ever blind accredited wood turner. And after going blind, a year after going blind, I suffered with debilitating anxiety and panic attacks, hallucinations, nausea. So I know what a great part in getting in your shed and making things, what a great therapy that is for lots of people. What Men in Sheds does for a lot of people, it does exactly that. It gives them somewhere to go, somewhere where they can just get zoned into a project, forget about the rest of the worries that's going on in their life, and give themselves meaning and purpose again. I've been there at the thick end of that, and I know exactly what it's like. So as far as charities go, what Men in Sheds is trying to accomplish is it's right up there, getting people out, giving them something to do, making them have passion and pride in stuff they're making. It's great therapy, it's lots of fun, so I definitely suggest that as many people get in their sheds and join Men in Sheds and get making stuff. For me, blindness, it was difficult to overcome, and there's still huge challenges day by day, but if you just look at it as not the end, it's a different path, and just, start along that path and enjoy every day, and never ever give up, keep on turning, as we like to say.
Is he not one of the most inspirational gents you've ever come across? I don't know why the video's gone black. Don't know if you can hear me, but it's all gone black. There we go. It stopped. Phew. Thought everything had gone pear-shaped for a second there. Is he not one of the most amazing guys? I can't imagine being, as he said, black blind, and having to deal with a wood lathe, because given half a chance, not even a quarter, barely an eighth of a chance, a wood lathe will kill you, or certainly give you, an invitation to, in Guernsey, the Princess Elizabeth Hospital. Insert your own hospital title here. So he's tackling it by touch and by sound, possibly by smell. I don't know. But come along to his talk at the virtually SHEDfest on the 7th to the 9th of July. More information will be going out through the UK Men's Shed Association website and on the Facebook page. And next week we've got the SHEDcast. We'll shout about it then as well. Heartily recommend it. Now, on a complete aside, almost a completely aside, people, what will blow your mind? My son JP and myself getting into sailing. We've now got a sailing dinghy, and just this last week we started sailing it. Yes, little mirror dinghy, wooden built, bit of fiberglass tucked in here and there, and it's absolutely magic. We've been sailing up and down a bay just over my shoulder, a place called Grand Havre, which is a very enclosed, sheltered, large area, and it's been amazing. Can you tell I live next to a road? And someone we got introduced to just a few days ago, my brother-in-law introduced me, thank you, Craig, just mentioned a young lady on YouTube by the name of Laura Decker. If you want inspiration, if stuff is getting you down and you can't see a way forward, write this down. Don't go searching. No, don't go searching now, because I'll lose you. Take a look. Write it down. Laura Decker, Dekker. I won't tell you anything more, but she's got a few TED Talks and that sort of thing, and she's got a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever videos in order of a sailing journey that she has made. And if you think you've got obstacles, look at Laura Decker, and if you think you've got obstacles, look at Chris Fisher. I'm taking massive heart from those two people. Never met them yet, but I'm taking massive heart from them at the moment. And as we get into today's show, you'll see that Guernsey Shed, as we've come along over the last 3 years, we've had a whole pile of problems. Just to refresh your memory, Mark's going to talk about from the inception, which we did pre-record just over lunchtime today, because he's working at the moment. And then after tea and wheat, we'll put the kettle on, and then we'll come back and I'll run you through our little photo album, give you a slideshow. You'll love it. It's going to be death by slides. So I'm going to add this to the stream, and I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Mark, well, and me. But this was recorded at lunchtime. Enjoy, and I'll see you in about half an hour or so. And then we'll have a cup of tea. Is that right? So welcome, Mark Smith, who is our Men's Shed Guernsey chairman. How you doing, Mark?
I'm fine, Shedder General, and yourself?
I'm holding it together somehow. Thanks for joining us. This is a pre-record. Thank you for taking time out of your lunchtime, and I appreciate that you're working, and that your boss follows our SHEDcasts and shed activities, so we can't, impinge on your working time. So thanks for taking your time out of your lunch.
That's all right. It's great to be able to speak to you, Marcel.
That's cool. We've got a few minutes with you, and I just wondered if you could take us back 3.5 years-ish to October 2016, when Patrick Abrams came and spoke to us at a conference in Guernsey, and through Mark Wynne and Jock Pettit's activity of setting up the conference, they introduced us to shedding. What was your response at the time to this men's shed thing?
It was quite an interesting experience, Marcel, because I'm not a maker. and I'm not really a shedder. You know, I was involved. I still am involved with a charity called Male Uprising Guernsey, and which is short for Mug Guernsey. We're a bunch of guys who we primarily focused on breaking the taboos around men speaking about male cancers, so prostate, bowel cancer, skin cancer, and getting guys to go, not be afraid of going to the doctors and saying, look, I've got a problem down there and I need something done about it because I'm worried about it. And there was this big space, there was a big taboo around male cancer, you know, although there always has been a taboo, that you just don't speak about it. You don't speak about your prostate. You don't speak about your bowel. And Mug's focus over the last 6 or 7 years has been about breaking down these taboos and getting guys comfortable speaking about their testicles and their bowels to their doctors, so that they ultimately don't do anything about it, and they get sicker and sicker, and they get past the stage where treatment is effective, and then that's not a good outcome. So we'd spent 3 or 4 years talking about getting guys.
I lost you.
Am I back?
Mark, can you hear me, mother?
I can hear you. I can hear you, and I can see you.
Your battery's gone flat, hasn't it?
No.
Did your battery go flat?
Nope.
I lost you completely.
Am I back now?
Sorry, bud. Yeah, you're back. Carry on.
Okay. So we'd spent 3 or 4, probably longer than that, 5 or 6 years, getting to a place where we'd broken this taboo, and discussions, and guys were getting comfortable going to the doctor and saying, I've got something wrong, I need something done about it, which is basically what we wanted to do. And for late 2016, focus started switching in the community to mental health, and there was a realization that a lot of men were having difficulties with their mental health. And again, it's another taboo that society has, that men don't talk about their mental health, or didn't at the time.
Yeah.
It's a subject that is swept under the carpet. You don't show any weakness, you don't show any emotion, you're fine, you've got to stiff up a lip, we just keep calm and we carry on. And so quite often that's not the case, and the conversation was starting to turn around. People were recognizing the fact that men were really suffering with their mental health and weren't doing anything about it. So this was starting to resonate a little bit with me, because I'm as bad as anybody else for not talking about my mood swings, my mental health, my stress, and my times when I'm stressed, times when I'm not, and how that affects me and my family life. And it sort of flicked a switch that I should be doing something about this. And it was when I was more in the space. We were getting into the space of going to the Thrive conferences and talking and having a realization that there is this bigger community out there where people want to help each other. So I went to Thrive, sat there, listened to some really good talks about a lot of various things, mainly around mental health and health in general. And then Patrick came on stage. Patrick A. Ramson from Men's Shed and Shed Talks, or Shed Happens. Sorry, the radio show Shed Happens. And Patrick started talking about shedding and what shedding is and how shedding works, and how the movement has been going in Australia, and then has come to the UK, and started showing these images of all these guys sort of just having mateship and talking to each other while standing shoulder to shoulder doing stuff. And Patrick was saying that, you know, these conversations are happening while men are doing something. So rather than women getting together and going to a cafe and talking about their problems, which, let's face it, the guys aren't really going to do that. They might go to the pub and be lots of banter in the pub and lots of male
sort of bravado.
Bravado, yeah. yeah,
Yeah.
bravado and football banter and all this sort of stuff, but no one actually sits in the no two blokes are ever going to sit in a pub and talk about their feelings over a pint, really, are they? Let's be honest, it doesn't happen
Not
very
unless
often.
you're very close. Yeah.
Not unless you're very close. So these conversations, but what Patrick was saying was that these conversations start to develop in the shed as the mateship and the shedding ethos starts to spread. And that really started. That resonated with me, and that flicked the that again said to me, "Look, what this really fits in with what we were doing in Mug in terms of getting the breaking down this taboo. Like, well, we've been successful with this cancer, the prostate cancer, the testicular cancer, the bowel cancer taboos. We've broken those now. We can do the same with men's mental health." And so I thought, this shedding, that's a great opportunity. This is something that we need in Guernsey. We need a shed in Guernsey. And I was sat there, and I'd known Bella Farrell, who was also one of the probably instrumental in getting me and you together.
Yeah.
I'd known her for a few years from the charity space, and her work with the various charities in Guernsey. And she made eye contact with me and sort of smiled because she could see what I was thinking. I think she knew that she could see those cogs in my head whirring. And then I think she looked across the room and saw you and saw you nodding your head.
Oh, yeah.
So we had once Patrick finished his talk, had to resounding applause. I mean, I think everybody in the room went, "This is amazing." She sort of came and grabbed me and marched me over to you, to Marcel, to you, and said, "You two need to talk to each other." That was awesome. So we did, and then someone, I can't remember who else got in on the conversation as well. But
it's Mark, another Mark.
Yeah, so Mark Wynn, who was one of the facilitators of the conference,
and another Mark as well.
Who's the other Mark?
Can't think of his surname, but there's another guy. He was off islands shortly after that, but he was right on for us at the time as well.
Mark Longley?
Yeah.
And Ned Manker as well.
Yeah.
I think he was there. And we all sort of started bouncing ideas off of each other, thinking, what can we do? Where can we do it? And so we took it away. From the conference, we had all loads of energy. We started exchanging emails, and we had our first meeting, which was me, you, and some guys from the Makerspace as well. So Makerspace had been looking for a location for a while to have a permanent base, and sort of our aims were sort of quite similar in the terms of the people there go and make stuff, but they do it that while you're making stuff and doing things, there's this mateship that's evolving, but it's the shared interest in making stuff. Now, where do you need to make stuff? You need a shed or a workshop. So we thought, hang on, we've got a shared goal here. Let's explore this even further. So we started looking at commercial buildings, speaking to commercial landlords, and of course, commercial landlords with workshops, they want commercial rates. And we're thinking, where's all the money going to come from? Where are we going to find £30,000 or £40,000 a year to pay the rent on a community workshop? Essentially, what we're looking at. And then Mark Wynn, bless him, said, "I've got an idea. We've got this vinery bought as a commercial enterprise a few years ago. It's now Edible Guernsey, which is another food-based sustainable farming initiative that had been started a few years ago. So we've got this packing shed. Why don't you come and have a look at the packing shed as a place to put the men's shed?" Oh yeah, that sounds good. So one cold, it was January, wasn't it? Cold January morning.
Here's
a bunch of us went out to the sticks, out into the countryside in Guernsey. We all equipped ourselves with our passports, went into the countryside to this packing shed up near the airport in St. Peter's, and had a look at it to see whether it would be something that we could use. And I don't know if you can see from the pictures, the packing shed was quite rustic.
Rustic. That's a good word. Yeah.
Rustic. It had been used over when the vinery stopped being an active vinery, it was then used to be a workshop for someone fixing cars, and then just a general dumping ground for vinery detritus and somebody else's storage for the various things. Plus, there was a whole bunch of vinery related stuff in there. So we looked at the shed. Yeah, that'll work. And then asked the dreaded question. So, how much is the rent going to be? And then Mark, with a glint in his eye, said, "Not very much. It's going to be a peppercorn rent, and you can have a 20-year lease on it." So, when we asked him how much a peppercorn rent was, it was, I think it's £1 a year, wasn't it? It's £1 a year we're paying.
I can't remember.
I mean, it's literally the cost of a peppercorn. It's basically free. And he just said, do it up, make it yours. You can have the lease. So we signed the lease there, pretty much there and then. And we agreed to co-locate with the motor space. So the shed's big enough that you can have a workshop in there, that we can have a dedicated men's shed space. Some days of the week we have a dedicated maker space some days of the week. Joined forces, joined resources, and started our journey in refurbishing the shed. Me being me, and being quite ambitious in terms of getting things done. For a deadline of, we'll be open in 3 months. It'll be great. We called it the moonshot.
Didn't you say April?
I think, April.
April.
April 2017. We'll be open. It'll be awesome. It'll be brilliant. Yeah. Using the moonshot technique, it's like give yourself a hard deadline and see if you can meet it. So April came and went, and we'd got the first 10 tons of rubbish out of the shed. Yeah. And we'd started generating some interest amongst some volunteers. Not just Makerspace, but people had heard about Men's Shed and the fact that we were doing this. And we started getting people turning up regularly on Saturday mornings to help us clear out the rubbish. I don't know if you got any pictures, Marcel, of the inside and all the rubbish.
I've only got this one lined up at the moment. But yeah, rolls of carpet and round the corner there, irrigation piping from the greenhouse that had just been sort of torn out and dumped. Yeah,
there was so much stuff. I mean, what was the weirdest thing we found? I don't know. There was just stuff, piles and piles of stuff. And in the end, I think we took out 40 tons of rubbish.
Yeah,
and just to be able to get inside the shed to get a clear idea of what we had. I mean, and it was rubbish. I mean, there was hardly anything that was useful. What was useful, we scored away in the greenhouse to be a resource.
I'll spin through all of those photographs once you've run away.
Yeah, and we looked up at the sky through the hole in the roof, and then looked out across the field through the holes in the wall. Open the
windows.
Open the bathroom door and then quickly shut it again.
Yeah.
And then just then we set about thinking, I reckon June will be all right. June will be a good opening day. And then we carried on, and we've gone for a bit of a journey. I think it's been an amazing journey to go through to get where we are now. But in the very early days, it generally seemed to consist of let's take stuff out and put it back in, take stuff out and put it back in. Let's have a look at the ceiling. Let's have a look at the roof and the holes in the roof, and then not sure what we're going to do about that. But in the end, we sort of came up with a plan, and that first of all that was to get it watertight, get the roof watertight. So with a bunch of volunteers, a bunch of people, we managed to strip off the old Well, we got some scaffolding first of all. That was nice. Got scaffolding around the building, donated very kindly. The use of the scaffolding. So we got the old concrete asbestos sheets off the roof, and very, very carefully and within all the HS health and safety guidelines, disposed of it correctly. Got some new roofing materials, and spent an awful lot of time reinforcing the roof and replacing all the rotten rafters and things, with a lot of help from some very experienced people, some very kind benefactors as well. I think that's it. I can remember being up on the roof in February the following year, wasn't it? February 18, we were up there.
Yeah.
And it was snowing, and we were fixing a valley gutter, and we were putting new purlins to the roof in, and it was cold, and I couldn't feel my fingers on the toes or any other, like, in fact, all of my whole body was shivering. It was so cold. And
what was the biggest challenge for you, Mark? What got to you?
My biggest challenge. Oh, I'm running out of battery. My biggest challenge was the time it was taking to get things done, and I kept on saying, and I'm naturally a doer. I'll look at something and we'll do it, and we'll just get on and do it. And I was getting frustrated with the fact that things were just taking ages to get done, because we were looking at them and planning. And I was thinking the shed, it just keep the whole ethos of the shed. It was just slipping all the time. It was like, we're not going to be able to open the shed. We're not going to be able to open the shed. And I think there's a flip around. I think I'd said to you at one point, this is getting ridiculous. We're never going to get this place open. There's never going to be a shed. We're never going to have anything that we want to do. And you said, but we have. Look around. Look at all these guys that are here, talking, doing, fixing, mending. You've got a bunch of guys all coming together every Saturday morning to make this place better. That's the shed. And you know what? You were right. That really, I'd missed that. All I was focused on was getting the shed open, and I'd missed that piece of. We're actually, but from week one, we had the shed open. It was a cold, windy.
We're shedding already.
Place where you had to go for a pee in a bush, but we were shedding already. We'd started that process. We had started shedding. We were building our community. We had the guys coming up. We had them talking to each other. We had them doing the things that shedders do. It was just on the outside of the shed, making a shed, rather than on the inside of the shed, making other stuff. Yeah. That was my turnaround point. That was my biggest challenge, was just realizing that we've got this.
I think most of us went through that little valley at some point or at different times, and there was always someone else to pick us up and remind us of what we're doing. And although the finished product seemed like it was getting even further and further away, actually it's not all about the product. It is about the journey and the activity.
It really wasn't. And I think I said it to you before. I realised it's not about the building. It's not the building that matters. We could shed pretty much anywhere. It's nice to have the shed.
Yeah.
But we could do all that stuff anywhere and call ourselves a shed. And we'd already established the shed, and we were doing the shed stuff, and that for me was my biggest challenge to overcome. But when I got it, it really did. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It really was. Yeah, we've done this. And it doesn't matter how long we're here. It doesn't matter how long we last. As long as we've got this community of people, and these guys all working together to get to the end goal. And the end goal's still there. I mean, it's probably going to be a bit like the Forth Road Bridge, isn't it? There's always going to be work done. There's always going to be something that we can say, oh, we could do this better. But we've now got a workshop which people are doing shed stuff in. It's not finished. It probably never will be. But as long as there's some jobs to do, then and the shed is there, we can get this stuff done. And the community, it's been an interesting journey. It really has. not without its pitfalls, not without some stress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
it
the
has,
Chinese sense of the word.
yeah, definitely. I think we've both me and you have learned a lot from it, haven't we?
Oh, hell of a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, both about the project and its real goals, but also about the people and about the tasks and about ourselves, I would say.
yeah, and we've seen quite a lot of guys come and go over the nearly 4 years. We've seen quite a lot of people turn up. Some guys will turn up for a week, do something really useful, and we'll never see them again.
Yeah.
Other guys have been there from the start.
They do nothing useful week after week.
I was going to say they occasionally do some useful stuff.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I was going to put my hand up for what I said.
But you know, but the one thing that has remained a constant is that people turn up and they get it almost instantly. They get the concept of what we're doing, why we're doing it. For some people, it's not for them. For some people, it is for them. And for some people, it's about the bacon roll and a cup of tea. For some people, it's about using the tools and making something.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and you know, I think we've got it. We've got a pretty good crew of guys that are coming in, and they get it. And you know, especially not having any expectation from anybody about what they do when they get there. I think a lot of people actually just like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a journey, definite journey, but not one that I envisaged. I thought, yeah, like I said, 3 months will be open, then I'll get on and I'll do something else. But in the meantime,
we've all wished it.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
You know, and we've had some fantastic support along the way. When you think about the support that we've had, myself, from businesses, you know, there's that time that Ravenscroft, my friend Nick said to me, "I've got some labourers. Can't do anything at the moment because it's been wet and windy for the last couple of weeks. Do you need any help with the shed?" What they like roofing? What do they know about rafters? He said, "Oh, that's what they know." So they came up and they what had taken us, well, we'd taken months to do, hadn't we?
Yeah.
They and we were learning as we went, and it wasn't because we were being slow. It's because we didn't really have any idea what we were doing at the start.
Yeah.
We were learning as we. They came up and they smashed it out in what, 5 or 6 days.
Well,
the
first thing was 3 guys for 2 days, and they fixed all of the bird speaks and the wall plates and stuff like that. The technical scarfing and that we weren't sure about, and how best we do it. Well, they come in, they've done it 1,000 times. Bish bash bosh, done that. And because we had the steel roof on pallets waiting to be installed, which we were expecting to do ourselves, they said, well, we can stay and put that on for you. So 3 guys for 2 days became 3 guys for 10 days and put the entire roof on, which is amazing. In the hail.
You know, that
snow.
In the hail, in the wind, and the snow. Yeah. You know, and to be honest, that if we'd have done that, we'd have taken a long time to do it, wouldn't we? And it's
we wouldn't have done it for at least another 6 months, because we wouldn't have been going up on the roof in those conditions.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, you know, that was what they did.
Totally.
You know, they were doing. So, you know, the guy, we did a lot. They just came in and smashed it out and finished it, and that was brilliant. And I could there's a list a mile long of all the other businesses and people that helped us. And you know, if any of them are listening, they all know who they are, and they know that we are eternally grateful for all the help that we've been. And it's just fantastic the way that people have. I love it when we get someone who just gets the concept and goes, you know what, I'm just going to give you some resources. I'm going to give you some kit. I'm going to give you a pallet of screws. Here's 70 pots of varnish. I'm sure you can use those. Yes, we can, and we have. And, you know, it's just amazing when you see someone get the concept, and Yeah, and then equally we got the people that have supported us through fundraising activities and donations, the various people that have given us grants and funding that way. I mean, it's like, you know, they just go, yeah, that's such a worthy cause, and we know it is, because we know that for the people that have been coming up have been telling us how fantastic it is and how it's the highlight of their week. And I know, Marcel, with the outreach project as well at the Grand Quartil, you got guys there that are saying how much they appreciate just having something to do every week. They can't necessarily make it to the shed, but we'll take the shed to them.
Yeah.
And they love having something to do every week, other than look at their four walls. And I'd say watch Jeremy Kyle, but Jeremy Kyle's not on anymore, is he?
Thank God for that.
Like Gogglebox or whatever it is that people
Yeah,
watch.
most of the other daytime telly. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have to sit down and watch that anymore. They've got something to do on a Wednesday. Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly proud to have been involved in the shed, because I can see what benefit it's had already, and hopefully for years to come. Even when I'm not involved, or hand over the reins to someone else. I've got to drive past it every day anyway, so I'll always be poking my head around the corner and see what's going on there. But for the moment, it's let's just crack on. Let's get this done. Let's keep it going. Let's keep that momentum up.
Yeah, thankfully it's getting the bit between our teeth now that lockdown's lifted over here again.
Yeah,
let's push now.
Yeah, we've got. I know, I think there's going to be a lot of people coming out of lockdown a little bit bewildered, a little bit lost, and they've lost the rhythm of their lives. And there's been an incredibly stressful time for a lot of people, whether that's for whatever reason. And I think now more than ever, it's more important that we're there and we're open and we're doing. We've got the door. We've got a door open on a Saturday and a Wednesday where someone can come and just have a little bit of company, where they might not have had company for 3 months, or they might be looking at the same four walls for 3 months, worrying about what the future brings. We come to the shed and see what's going on up there. Have a bacon roll, have some banter.
Yep. Potter
make
about
something.
Yeah.
Potter about, do something. Sit down, have a chat. Yeah,
that's cool. I know Patrick Abrams talks about there's sort of 3 groups of people, and they sort of divide into thirds in terms of the numbers that come to a shed. A third of people won't be doing anything with the tools. They'll just turn up and drink tea and cake and biscuits and stuff and chat. So purely a social environment. Brilliant. There'll be another third that are getting involved with their own projects, and they're making this and they're making that. Excellent. And there'll be another third that are there to work on community projects, be it the shed itself, or a park bench, or planters for the school, or all those sorts of things. So people can come at this from whichever angle they want and all meet in the same place. It's good.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, and I like I said before, I'm not someone that's gonna. I'm not a shedder in terms of I'm desperate for a place to come and do woodwork or metalwork or anything, but I just love. Not yet. I've got all that out there that needs to. And I'm sure you'll share a picture of my painting and decorating skills. But I love just going up there and just listening. I like just being there and listening to the banter and being in that environment. That you've got that. It's just seeing everybody. I suppose I get my enjoyment from seeing other people's enjoyment, and it sounds really corny, but it does. That's what I like from the shed and seeing these guys just having a laugh. That's
Yep.
what it is. It's a bunch of blokes just having a laugh, really, at the end of the day.
Yep.
But why not?
Good.
It's,
Healthy.
yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that's taken
Well,
up all of your lunchtime.
That's all right. I'm going to make myself a salad. I think I've got some bacon in the fridge. I might fire off a bacon sandwich just now.
Okay, I'm on my way.
Take care.
You know, I'm not meaning that seriously because you're to the other end of the island, so I'm not likely
Yeah,
just to pop round. It's not in the Guernsey mentality, is it?
You got to plan. You got to plan your journey. You have to plan your journey.
Yeah. Get your jabs, passport out.
Yeah,
Brill. Thanks a lot, Mark.
you're welcome.
We shall see you Saturday, possibly.
I will be there Saturday.
Fun.
Briefly, gonna pop in. Got to.
In between the children's runs and stuff like that. Bike
whatever,
races.
yeah, whatever my weekend looks like, I'll be in. I'll be in at some point, even if it is just to grab a bacon. Yeah.
Awesome.
Take care. Good
Thanks a lot, Mark. Take care.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Cheerio. And unmute my mic. There we go. We get rid of those chaps. Thank you, Mark. He's probably listening in the background of working. So thanks, Mark. Thanks for your time, lunchtime. Really great. When Patrick Abrams gave his talk at the Guernsey Thrive 2020 conference, 2016, I was sat there like a Cheshire cat because everything he was talking about making just resonated with me. I was part of a group working towards setting up a makerspace in Guernsey. There were 3 of us working primarily as a group of sort of 5, I suppose, extended group, trying to make that happen, trying to find premises, and not doing very well because it was just crazy money. But everything that Patrick was saying, I was just nodding my head and grinning like a Cheshire cat because it just resonated completely about the finding purpose in making stuff and the relationships that come from other people who you get to share the making of stuff and exploring new things and discovering new ideas and so on and so forth. So yeah, it was one of those moments in life when things go that way. And thanks to Mark Wynne and Jock Pettit for staging that conference and getting Patrick over. Before that, we'd not heard of, none of us, I don't think, had heard of men's sheds, or if we had, it was some distant thing that someone else was doing. And thank you, obviously, to Patrick for coming and speaking. In the comments, I just added this in. Now, this isn't much use. What I'll try and do, when we're having our tea and a wee in a minute, I will see if I can find a way of getting that YouTube link on screen in a better way, because obviously you having to memorize youtube.com/watch?v=6af_f. That's no good to us at all, is it? So I'll see if I can find a way of putting that on screen. Something I wanted to experiment with actually for SHEDfest is putting links on in a QR code, so you can fire your phone camera at it if you've got a smartphone, and it will open the link for you. So let me go and experiment with that while we all have a tea and a wee, because I'm nearly dry, and I'm sure you are desperate for relief. So let's PKO, put kettle on, and we'll see you back here in 5 Earth minutes. Find the countdown. Tea and wee. Giddy. You are very welcome to come back. And I'm desperately trying in the background. I've been making a mess of exporting an image. God, it's dashed exciting, but scary. That is a bit silly. I have to delete it and try again. I wish I could play you something. Actually, I'm going to play you something. I'm going to play you a video, which is the SHEDfest 2018 promo film, which actually post 2018, I think. But I'd like you to see this because in a couple of weeks we've got the SHEDfest coming up, virtually SHEDfest, and we're going to be doing this streaming business, which is why I'm testing this. Someone's phoning me from England. I'll leave that for now. And watch this video, and this will tell you all you need to know, hopefully, about SHEDfest. Here it comes.
Men's Shed's basically where 3 or more people come together and make stuff, fix stuff, do stuff. Mainly in sheds, and most of it is woodwork, although we have metal workers, we have people that just do board games, and we have people that do all sorts of pottery and other types of craft. And it's about people coming together, making new friendships and having fun.
The idea is that men come together and learn skills together and get to use hand tools, and but really it seems like it's very much about friendship and companionship and just enjoying each other's company.
The camaraderie, just being together. For our shed itself, it's not the part of where we're actually standing and making things and doing things for the local community. It's that hour and a half that we have when we sit down in our break room and have a cup of tea and a chat and a bacon roll. That is the men's shed.
I can smell the woodwork behind me. That's the smell of the men's shed. It's woodwork. It's not just about making mess. It's about making other things. It's about making music. Perhaps it's about making art. Perhaps making cakes.
The biggest impact that we found in our survey is that there's a 96% reduction in loneliness from those that thought they were lonely or said they were lonely to before they joined a shed to after when they joined a shed. But the shedders would say it's about friendships. It's about being together, positively helping people in the community, and making stuff. And it's fun. The happiness level goes up, their enjoyment level goes up, and they all say they make new friends.
The joy of just spending time together, solving problems, and helping each other. And it's great.
When my wife unfortunately had to go into residential care, I was left alone in a big house and not knowing anyone around me. And around that time, there was a little flyer went up in the town saying, anybody interested in the men's shed? So I went along to see what it was about, and it's great to see how it's turned people around. And it's difficult to judge for yourself, but I can certainly see some of the other guys. They're different guys for coming along, and that's great.
We've had people say that it's saved their life, it's saved their marriage. So there's some really deep and fundamental things that shedders experience. It's not just shedders that get benefit from sheds. So we have some wonderful letters from kids, school kids that we work with, that they say thank you so much to the shedders for working with us on these bird boxes or jigsaws or whatever else it might be. And then I show this to the shedders, and the shedders say, no, we should write to the kids and say thank you for working with us on this kind of stuff, because we get a lot of value from it as well.
So SHEDfest is where we've had 250 shedders come together to talk about what they make, to talk about what they do, talk about their challenges. We've run a number of forums and workshops for them to engage in about fundraising or about succession planning or about products that they're making to help them. And then we run an exhibition as well. We're in the exhibition hall at the moment, and they've been doing wood carving, pole lathe turning, all sorts of things, and talking to charities such as prostate cancer.
Whilst each of the shed is completely independent, there's a lot of value in shedders coming together as one big unit for the day, and it also helps stimulate lots of ideas, so they go away hopefully back feeling very excited about what potential new things they can do within their shed and ideas to overcome some of their challenges.
It's good to meet people who are doing what you're doing, and it's quite nice to be able to talk to them and get their feel on the way we're doing things.
It's always fantastic to meet with other sheds, and everyone's chatting, and that's what I find the most useful.
I think it's good that there is an opportunity to celebrate and share.
I've had such a wonderful time. I've learnt such a lot, and I'm sure that the organisation's got a lot to not only offer me, but to offer my shed.
There's over 600 sheds either in development or open, and there will be a local shed. And if there isn't, call us and we'll help you make one.
UK Men's Shed Association should only exist to support the network of sheds in being the best sheds that they can. And so the idea by having this national conference means that we can create those discussions and start really understanding how UK MSA can really help the shed movement be the best that it can.
If that doesn't tell you what you need to know about SHEDfest, come along in a couple of weeks' time. The 7th, 8th and 9th SHEDfest, 7th, 8th and 9th of July. And it runs from something like 10 in the morning till 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then there's an evening session, 7 till 8. Obviously, if you're still on lockdown and you've got nothing else to do, even the garden can look after itself. Get yourself glued in front of your telly and get a stack of biscuits and peanuts and stuff and settle yourself in. Put the kettle by the sofa. That's just, you know, throw that in as an extra layer of being there. That's a good idea. And we look forward to seeing you there. Now, you wouldn't believe it, but as that video was playing, I had a phone call. And of course, the phone is linked to my laptop. So my laptop starts ringing. So just as I hit play while you're watching the SHEDfest, I've got Peter Sefton in my ears, and we're having a phone call about SHEDfest and the rehearsals that we're doing Friday this week in preparation for his presentation on the Wednesday. That's Wednesday the 8th at the SHEDfest. So it's all happening live. You wouldn't believe it. And check this out. While you're watching that video, I finally got it nailed down. Or at least, fingers crossed, if you've got your smartphone at the ready. Now, I do hear what you're saying. Dan says, but I'm watching on my smartphone. Yeah, there's a bit of a snag there. We can't cover all of the bases, I'm afraid. But it is, yes, you're right, it is clever stuff. So we'll ditch that. And if I shine my camera and it says open in YouTube, so I then go and open in YouTube, and lo and behold, there's our Patrick Abrams on stage at the Guernsey Thrive 2020 conference. He's not playing, but I'll make him play. Yay! Yeah, isn't that clever? So that's a great way, and we've just proven it. Thank you very much. If you manage to do that, do tell us in the comments on Facebook and YouTube or wherever you're watching, and tell us, did that work? And I'll leave it up there for a second. Does it sound like I'm banging on about SHEDfest? No? Great. Let me tell you about SHEDfest. It's brilliant. It's going to be good. But a big part of its brilliance is going to be you. Yes, you. Because there's this whole interactive thing. And you may have noticed that people are able to interact with this while we're live. And you'll be able to do that during the SHEDfest. So while there's stuff going on screen, you'll be able to comment on Facebook and YouTube. And if that's an appropriate comment to the discussion, it'll be banged up on screen, and then the people on screen can then react to it and answer your questions. Or if you want to make a point that amplifies what they're saying, you can do that, and they can say, oh, that's very good. Jeff from Norfolk has said, yes, he agrees. So well done, Jeff, from Norfolk. Now, I promised you, not a word of a lie, that I would show you some photographs from the little old shed in Guernsey. You've heard Mark, our illustrious chairman, talking about sorry, this isn't a TV studio, and we're not locked down and behind closed doors. It's not a controlled environment, as with most live streams. So the chicken has just managed to push his way through the fence across the open doorway and has just joined us. I wish I could show you, but it'll get complicated. And this is complicated enough already. Flipping chicken. So all alas, Dan says on the QR code thing, you'll try later and pull back. Thanks very much, Dan. I much appreciate that. But that's a good example of that feedback loop, which is rather cool. So I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to whisk you through a bunch of photographs from our last 3 years of the Guernsey Shed history. Over the last 14 or so shows and weeks, I've been mentioning Guernsey Shed, Guernsey Shed. However, I'm aware that I've kept it sort of a bit quiet and I've not shouted about it more than that. And I've certainly not shown you a lot of the Guernsey Shed, apart from some of the characters, including Alan with his boat. And we've got more updates coming on that probably next week, because his boat is in the water now. And the best news, when I saw him the other day, he said it hasn't sunk yet, which actually was a concern because, of course, it's an old wooden boat built in 1965, and it's been out of the water for a little while, and all the planks tend to do this until, yes, you could literally see through them. So he's added some mastic in between, but now that it goes back in the water, that initial moment of the planks soaking up the moisture and expanding again should close up any remaining gaps. But there was that concern, that honest concern of, yeah, it could just leak like a basket until we give it a week in the water and let everything swell up again. So apart from showing it, Alan, let's show you some pictures of Guernsey Shed. This is it. This was it 3.5 years ago in a very cold January day, cold and grey, and it wasn't showing the shed in its best light. But to be honest, even if we'd had more light, it couldn't have put a greater spin on the shed, because as you can see, there's windows broken out, doors ripped off their hanging rails there. You can see one of them was on and really janky and hard to move. It still is janky and hard to move, but that's after we've repaired it. And it was full of detritus, as Mark mentioned. And it was, a brave gathering. There's Mark in the middle. Mark Wynne is with his family, owner of the land, and they've given us the land on a 20-year lease, peppercorn rent. So Mark, if you're watching, or even if someone knows you're watching, nudge Mark when you next see him and say thank you very much. We don't say it enough. So thank you very much, Mark, for all you've done for us. We wouldn't be where we are today, literally, without you, because we'd have to go somewhere else. And yeah, just after that Patrick Abrams talk in the October of 2016, as you can see, it was Christmas at this co-working hot desking officey space. We gathered a few illustrious bods, but very soon after started stripping out. That meant pulling out stud work where the plasterboard had just disintegrated because it was always so damp. So that was a huge amount of fun. Almost took someone's ear off with a bit of stud work as it came down. Not quite so much fun. But very early on, this guy, Jim, is one of our makerspace directors. His family traditionally share bacon butties on a Saturday lunchtime. And they just say to their wider family, it's always, in the grandparents' greenhouse, it's always bacon butties at lunchtime on a Saturday. And on one of our early visits to the shed, I was giving him a lift back. And he said, oh, do you want to come and see my grandparents' greenhouse? And we popped in there and they welcomed us in. And we had bacon butties and a slice of Guernsey gosh, which is like a sweet fruit loaf. Highly recommended. And as we both drove away, we both knew that that was something we needed to institute for our shed, because it's a lovely thing to do, just to gather people. And as he said, the family all know that you can bob along on a Saturday lunchtime, even if you're dashing between one thing and another because life is busy. You've got to eat. You pop in and you grab a bacon butty, catch up with the family, even if it's half an hour, grab and go. And there's contact, there's connection. So fairly early on, we instituted 12:30 was bacon o'clock every Saturday. This was our illustrious team early on. Lots of admin going on in this. There's a sort of a business enterprising hot desking space called Digital Greenhouse in Guernsey, in St. Peter Port in the town. And with Bella, who was mentioned earlier with Mark on the side there. Bella was one of the people that caught the vision from Patrick Abrams' talk and said, yes, we need a men's shed in Guernsey. And she was instrumental from day one to try and organise us, help us organise ourselves. I think that's perhaps the nicer way of putting it. But she drove things, and that was really, really great. Meanwhile, Saturdays, people like Alan were fixing the windows. That style of greenhouse glass down the side, very typical of Guernsey greenhouses. And that's something that Alan knows extremely well. So he just got on quietly, sat on a bit of scaffolding, chipping away at the old putty and putting in new linseed putty and all that sort of stuff. So thank you, Alan. And it's still there. We've had one breakage since then when someone put a pallet up against the side wall. But it's all still there, which is great. And it's wind and watertight, even better. And rolling forward every Saturday, bacon. You're getting the theme now? There's bacon days. And that meant dumping, Mark mentioned 40-ton bags of detritus out of the sheds, but that's not including the skip, the metal skip, which was one of these, not just a bucket skip, it was one of these big lorry back skips. And I don't know what the capacity of those is, but that was full of old vehicle axles and a washing machine and bits of rusty metal and tons of stuff. And it meant lots of clearing and lots of sweeping and making a more mess. So I mentioned it before, making mess, cleaning it up, making mess, cleaning it up. It's very, very demoralizing because just when you've cleaned it up, JP's catchphrase was mess is progress. It didn't feel like it for a very, very long time, probably at least a year when we were still ripping stuff out. More studwork construction, which again, the plasterboard, you could just push your foot through it. So that needed to come out. Plus this little officey bit that you can see had 3 windows on the south side of the building. But of course it contained all of the daylight. And it meant the main part of the southern shed was very dark on this side. So we've taken that out and we're going to put a glazed sheddy bit, officey bit, on the other side of the shed to make up for that. So trying to recycle as much of the timber as we can, denailing as we went. Mark mentioned earlier that we were donated some scaffolding. We've had 2 donations of scaffolding because this lot ended up staying for a long while, but then had to go to, strangely enough, had to go to home. And another company came in with some more scaffolding and helped us out with that. Absolutely brilliant. And we got some videos and time lapses of all that going on. If the computer will just hurry up, there we go. And the guy in the white shirt there, a guy called Ian, comes from Scotland. He is a professional scaffolder. And I've got to be careful how I say that because I know there are scaffolders and there are scaffolders. Scaffolders and scaffolders, and ne'er the twain shall meet because some of them take it really seriously. So I'm given to understand. But Ian is a professional scaffolder, and he does scaffolding on North Sea oil rigs. I hope that's not too loud for you. Can I turn the volume down? I don't know if that was as loud for you as it was for me. I do apologise. But teamwork, it was incredibly hard work. I've never worked with scaffolding before. If you have, then you know how heavy it is. Everything is heavy and everything is out to squash your fingers. And it's noisy when you're banging bits together. It damages your ears. But big thanks to Ian, hanging like a monkey there. Without your help, we'd have still been there today. Absolutely brilliant. And it's big jobs and it's small jobs. There's Alan on the outside, puttying in new bits of glass, and Derek doing the hoovering. We've got a very domesticated bunch, I must say. Chris sweeping and hooving. There was a bench down the side of this greenhouse, sort of side, the north face, because that's where they used to sort flowers from the vinery, which you can see in the background there. So there's this large sloping desk, but not ideal for what we need, so we had to pull that out. More domestication, don't tell the missus. And this illustrious bunch, I don't know if I can zoom in on this because these are just some of the great guys. And when Mark was talking before about coming to the realization that we are shedding, we're already doing it. This is the team that was doing it there. It's not a brilliant photograph, but you get the idea. I don't know, can I adjust that at all? It looks very dark, doesn't it? Let's adjust it live as we speak. There we go. I'll crank it all the way up. Done. Come on, computer. There we go. There's it. And you can see some faces now, which is a bit nicer. But this is the crowd early on. And what a dedicated bunch of stalwarts in all weathers. And getting weekly demoralized and eating bacon and cheering up and more tea and long process, but ever so rewarding. Rewarding because of what we were doing, but rewarding because we're doing it together. I can't stress that enough. Absolutely brilliant. Back end of the building, the gables were completely rotten out on the roof. There used to be some windows. Now they're just a little bit of glass, but most of it's just holes. And the vines were growing on the inside and on the outside. And we had a rooftop garden, which was a great point of humour. That's the southern shed, the back gable, just there. There was a mezzanine floor you can see inside the back of the shed there. How anything was still up there, we don't know, because the wood was just rotten, utterly rotten. How it didn't come down on top of people, we don't know. So that was all gingerly removed. And as you can see, yeah, lots of outsides growing inside. Didn't get many photographs of the inside because it was so dim and gloomy. And, you know, asbestos concrete sheet with chunks taken out, so everything was wet inside. Jolly good fun. And mentioning asbestos concrete, that's Chris putting on what we termed our sperm suits. The funny thing about putting these things on is that once you're all goggled and masked, and we all know about using face masks now, don't we, with COVID? But we were COVID masks, goggles, the full sperm suit, and then gaffer tape around the bits and what have you to seal it all up. And the funny thing is, you've got a job to tell who is who, so you're just looking at a bunch of white creatures scrabbling around, and you're going, "Hey, yeah, you, can you, no, not you, can you, no, he's got his back to me." Oh, because you all look the same. It's quite funny. There we are, making a mess of the roof, stripping it back slowly, and all hands on deck. Really fragile work because we're trying to take the sheets down as complete as we possibly could, and then dispose of them in a skip that was wrapped in polythene and all enclosed and expensive to dispose of, unfortunately. But we had to do it. You've got to jump through the hoops. You've got to do the right thing. But slowly exposing the building. Making progress. As JP says, mess is progress. Always making a mess and always cleaning it up again. Always making a mess. And slowly chipping away, making more and more mess. There was a plasterboard ceiling on the north shed. That was, again, completely rotten out and starting to fall down of its own accord. So we removed that. That was about another 4-ton bags of plasterboard. Just crazy. I kind of, looking back at this, I kind of can't believe what we did. But you just carry on, eh? All gingerly, carefully, grinding the heads off the nails so that you can get to lift the sheets off. Otherwise, if you try and remove the nails, then you smash the sheets, and that's not what you want. And teamwork. And more bacon. On the right there, that's we call him Uncle Tom, because in the middle there, that's our Alan, Boaty Alan. That's his uncle. Comes from St Andrews in Scotland, and every year he comes down to visit Alan. So we've adopted him as our Uncle Tom. Greetings to Uncle Tom if you're watching this. We miss you, and we look forward to seeing you again, hopefully in due course. Tom's in his 90s. And you'll see him a little bit later when we were plastering. Almost clearing up the shed, still making more mess. Stripping back, And then we had pre-open day. We gathered probably about 100 people on an open day, primarily inviting stakeholders, potential stakeholders. So other charities and charity organizations who we thought might be interested in what we're building. We're not ready to open yet was the strap line, but we're coming, so that those people who and local government and people like that to be able to say, we're coming, this is what we're working on, bear us in mind as you go forward, this is what we're generating. So think about that. If you've got members, patrons of your charity, be it say Alzheimer's or whatever, then you might be thinking about who you can feed towards the men's shed in due course. So that was exciting and nice to sort of flag wave early, just to try and build a bit of anticipative momentum. And then more work and scraping the walls. Thank you, Chris. And Jim putting in purlins. I had to put a lot of wood into the roof because the old timbers were insufficient. And a lot of them had woodworm and rot. So, you know, all that. And more bacon. You can tell it was a Saturday. And more important conversations and relationships being built. Stuff explained and stuff explored. Ideas. And lots of people just say, oh, you're covered in sawdust. No, that's man glitter. Jim, choppy chop, looking good. Mark, sporting some fine stubble there. Good job, Mark. Up on the scaffolding, up and down. Such good fun. That's the back end of I don't know who. Removing that bench with a sledgehammer. Hectic stuff. More bacon butties. Did I mention that we have bacon butties every Saturday, 12:30? If ever you're passing. And stripping back the walls and cleaning up and making a mess and rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Looking important there, Derek. Yeah, very good. Asphalt in the back end gables, trying to waterproof them. More bacon butties. I'm whizzing through all this now. That's our calendar shot, the poster. All those lovely poster boys. And this is something I wanted to share with the shedding community far and wide. This is something that I picked up from a visit to Hackman, Hackspace and Men's Shed in Manchester. I was working there 4 or 5 years ago. And one of the things that Hackman had up was rule 1, don't be a cock. And if anyone asks, you've got the cockerel there. If anyone asks, politely, you can say, well, you know, cockerels puff their chest out and say, I know it all. I know it all. And that's if children are present and you want to be polite. But you and I both know what don't be a cock means. And if anyone needs reminding, you've just got to say, rule 1, and they know. And rule 0, just in case rule 1 doesn't cover it, don't be on fire. Now, sometimes rule 1, don't be a cock, does cover not being on fire, because you can be a cock and cause yourself to be on fire. But it also happens that you can cause yourself to be on fire if you're not being a cock. And yeah, that's my boiler suit after I'd done some grinding. One could argue that I was breaking rule 1 by not wearing the full leather smock. But yeah, okay, I broke rule 0. And as far as I know, it's not a boast, I think, but I'm glad that I'm the only person so far to have broken rule 0. Don't be on fire. Along the way, a Guernsey delicacy is a bean jar. It's sometimes known as bean crock, but mostly bean jar, and it's a bean soup, thick bean soup. There was a bean jar festival a couple of years ago, and we were invited to go along and sell some bean jar. Well, lots of other people were selling bean jar, so we thought we'd do something different. We made pumpkin soup because it was Octoberish, and usual suspects, Michael and Alan and some other folks, all gathered. JP was there, and we made lots of gingery peppery ginger soup, and we sold quite a lot of it. And what a gorgeous bunch. Natalia was there as well. What a gorgeous roasted pumpkin soup. And there we are on the day, flogging our wares. We didn't flog as much as we'd hoped, but we had a huge amount of fun doing it. Again, team building and relationship building. And there's some bean jar as well in the background there. Whoa, look at that. Whoa. Oh, I'm coming over all funny just thinking about it. And the wind is rising. And we didn't sell as much as we'd hoped, but we had a huge amount of fun doing it, and we built a lot of rapport and relationship with the community, which was really good. And I think we sold it at like £1 a mug, and for an extra 50p you could keep the mug. So if people saw a mug they liked, they could walk away with a mug they liked. Nice. Recycling. No waste. We got steel roofing in from the UK, and the plan, the plan was to fit it ourselves. But as Mark was mentioning earlier, with winter coming, we were just running out of the weather window and the skills to pull something like that off. Here is that little muppet there, JP. Yeah. But amazingly, as Mark mentioned earlier, we had support from Ravenscroft Construction, and they spent they said, I'll come back to that one, they spent 2 days, sorry, oh, the number's right, 2 days with 3 guys to fix all the woodwork, the bird's beak joints on the wall plate and all that shenanigans, more purlins, but because we had the steel roof there, they said, look, do you want us to put this on? And wonderfully, thank you, they were able to spend 10 days with us every day, bang, 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 getting the roof on. And suddenly we're waterproof, mostly. Absolutely amazing. It would have taken us a very long time. For a start, as I mentioned earlier, we wouldn't have gone up there in these conditions. You see the hailstorms and what have you. It was very, very cold, very, very windy, and a whole not pile of fun. But they were brilliant. They carried on. They'd shelter inside for half an hour when a hailstorm came through, open up a flask of soup or grill up a toasted sandwich and get straight back out and carry on. But it really wasn't pleasant. And slowly but surely, it all closed up. Right, I'm going to whiz back because I just wanted to point out. Here you are. That's Mark and Mark. Our Mark Smith, chairman, on the left, and Mark Wynne on the right, who is whose family own the property. And that piece of paper was our 20-year lease document being handed over. Blooming marvellous. More of that story to come a bit later, because we're down there for 20 years, but the planning department thought otherwise. And I'll come back to that later. So let's whiz through all the roof stuff. Yep. And then this. I'm not sure if I've got a photograph. Yeah, I have somewhere, of Mark dealing with the toilet. This was the toilet block. 2 toilets, 1 access from either side of the shed, one of which was utterly unusable, and the other one was usable if you were really keen to go. That was January the 1st, New Year's, in a very, very cold shed, but still getting out there and getting together. There's Mark with the, that was the least serviceable toilet, if I remember correctly. It's a while ago now, but it was not nice. Yeah, flushed sometimes. The seat stayed on sometimes. Wasn't great. So that had to change. And along the way, we made stuff and we learned how to weld. But then we got in a digger and we demolished the concrete toilet block. One of the reasons was we couldn't get the size and dimension of wheelchair accessible toilet that we wanted within the walled footprint, because there was a dividing wall that you can sort of see there exposed. So we decided to demolish it. The other reason was it had Artex on the walls with asbestos in it. Yeah, you guessed it. We just figured that actually, let's get rid of it, and then it's off-site completely. We won't ever have to think, can I drill into this wall ever again? Let's deal with it again. So it was in the sperm suits again, trying to deal with all the block work, but yeah, absolutely amazing. And a ton of fun to get a digger in with a massive pecker device. Hope that's not too loud for you. Oh, the drama. Did I say we kept making a mess and then kept having to clear it up again? I can't say it wasn't fun. It was a huge amount of fun. But yeah. Then we had to rip out the floor because we didn't know what the floor was like. Some of it was already damaged. And half of the floor for the other toilet was 30 centimeters or a foot higher on one side. So we had to rip all that out because we didn't know. We had to flatten it all out. And that meant ripping out the entire floor. There's JP, age, I think probably 10 at the time. Always part of it, pickaxe and shovel in hand. And then mapping out on the floor with sketch plans and bits of wood, trying to work out what dimensions everything needed to be and where it was going to go and what the layout was going to be. Having fun with tools, of course, removing more concrete. That was the door going through the other side, so we had to rip the concrete step out. And rehanging the door that had been ripped off its rail. So the welding that you saw just before, the welding pictures, that was welding up new brackets to go along the top of that. That's our Adrian working on that. And finally being able to close the door when it was, I don't know, maybe a decade or more since that door had been ripped off its rail. So it actually was starting to look windproof, watertight. I mean, still a bit gappy, admittedly. It's still perishingly cold, but we're getting there. And then more hands on deck, building studwork construction to build our lobby. Okay, there goes it. And the toilet block, and what would eventually become the back edge of the back wall of the kitchen as well, which you'll see in due course. I hope I'm not boring you, stupid. Hey, shut up, JP. I'm not supposed to say yes to that. It's a rhetorical question. Many hands make light work and all that. And shaky video. Selfie stick, which was 2x4 and 6 meters long. Great fun. Enough of that. And getting help from people who can spend a little bit of time. They come along, they help, and and then other people who can spend huge amounts of time. There's our Michael. You've probably seen on a previous show, Michael's our resident plasterer and concrete specialist. What he doesn't know about the stuff isn't worth knowing. So yeah, he's been a massive help on doing all the concrete work. And there's our JP again, like I say, age 10, laying a concrete floor. We homeschool JP as it happens, but what a fantastic education, eh? Getting to lay a concrete floor. When else do you get to do that and learn from a pro like Michael about concrete mixing? Absolutely brilliant. Lots of time lapses of said activity. It looks busy, doesn't it? Heaps of fun. Slow progress, but progress nonetheless. And learning all the tricks. Genius. Working late into the night, And Saturday lunchtime, 12:30, bacon o'clock, as always. Regular as bacon-flavoured clockwork. And discussion and sharing and slow progress. Yeah, marking out floor plates and stuff like that in the pit of winter. Doesn't often snow in Guernsey, to be fair, but when it does, it shuts the island down. Even the smell of it, and the buses stop running and everyone stays home. It's great. And getting involved and doing woodwork and all of this stuff, you know. Learning how to build stud work. We got a whole bunch of guys who have worked in the building trade along the years, really know their stuff. And slowly but surely we throw hammers around and fire a nail gun at bits of wood, and lo and behold, things get built. It's great fun. Yeah, hammers. And then we got some lighting. Look, before and after. Yay. That was some LED strip lighting that we were given, and it's still rudimentarily, don't know, hung up in the shed, much in the same position. It has been adjusted slightly, but we're still using it because we're not ready to put in the final installation of stuff. But this is mains-based LED strip lighting, so it's just got a plug on the end. You whack it in and bing! Absolutely brilliant, pretty efficient, and a pretty good light. Although you can see on the south shed here, we've got a very yellow, warm tone, whereas on the north shed, where the tools will be, we've got a very whitish light. 5,000 Kelvin, if you want to get particular about it. But what a difference. What a difference a bit of light makes, eh? Not a huge amount of light, but enough that you can be working there in the evening, which prior to that we couldn't do. Not really. There we go. Now this is our dear chum, Brian. Brian's been working with us for a couple of years, and he's a plumber by trade, along with lots of other things in the background, in his background. And this was at one of our local suppliers, CDS, and our man Phil there helping us out. Absolutely brilliant to have great contacts at your local building firm who can hold your hand and say, well, actually, have you thought about doing it like this? Or we've got this fitting, and you've got one of those, and it bends. And absolutely brilliant. People who can hold your hand and people who get what you're trying to do and will help you as much as they possibly can. So big thanks to CDS and big thanks to Phil. Absolutely brilliant to have you guys there. And Alan, framing, great fun. Gas powered Pasload nail gun. So much fun when it puts a 4-inch nail straight into the wood and sinks the head. Bang! Job done. Very satisfying. And in the midst of all of this, our metal lathe arrived. Yeah, that was good fun. That was a happy day. And along the way, stripping lots of pallets. We had a few guys at various times stripping lots and lots of pallets, and we'll show you why in a second. Plumbing's starting to take shape. There's JP testing the first installation of one of the toilets, testing it with gusto by the looks of it. And there's our Brian working on the plumbing for the other side. It's so good when you've got someone who has done this before, and more than that, really knows what they're doing. I've learned so much working with Brian. I am forever indebted to him and his sense of humour. We gelled so well together and had a huge amount of fun. The sadness in my voice is based on the fact that about a month ago, 5 weeks, something like that, Brian passed away during lockdown. I can say thankfully not because of coronavirus, but nonetheless, because it was during lockdown, it's been a very painful time that people couldn't visit him, even his very close family. So it was a very painful time for them. And we all miss Brian intensely because he was just an absolute diamond. And if I could dedicate this show to somebody, it would be to Brian and to Marlene, his widow. Our thoughts are forever with you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. We do look forward to seeing you again soon. He was a pile of fun to work with, really knew his stuff, and he taught me a bit of a lesson, which I always keep reminding myself on. I'm a bit slapdash, I'll confess, that if I can get a shortcut, leave it for now, do it, that'll do. Brian's take on it was, if you haven't got time to do it right now, when will you have time to come back and do it right? Yeah, good point. So Brian was about doing it right. I really appreciate that, Brian. This is where I was, it was 2 degrees, him and I, 2 degrees inside the shed, and we're working on the plumbing together. And I'm trying to get a photograph of him because he's not always easy to photograph. I said, "Smile, Brian." He lifts his head up and goes, "Smile." I'm not sure if this was just before or just after the toilet system that's just behind him there. We've been fitting up the flush and filler, what have you, and we were just pressurizing it for the first time. Brian's holding some valve down the side of it, and I'm holding the top on, and he opens up the valve, and the whole thing comes on, but it blows the top off. So then I'm trying to do this with my hands, trying to stop the spray everywhere. It's hitting the ceiling, fanning out above the both of us and raining down on top of us, at which point the both of us are in fits of giggles going, it's cold. But neither of us, whilst trying to stop it, could reach the stopcock, which was only about 4 feet away. But we were both stuck there for, I don't know, what seemed like an eternity of giggles, but probably only 10 or 20 seconds of just getting wet before we managed to, one of us, I can't remember if it was me or, I can't remember. It's all a blur, a very wet blur. One of us managed to make it to the stopcock. Yeah, that was cold. 2 degrees in the shed. Wasn't nice, but it was very funny, and I'll never forget it. Thank you, Brian. Oh, we were flushed with success. Look, that was our first flush. Nothing but liquids, I hasten to add. Very exciting. And then this is part of the lobby and the toilet walls. We've done the lobby and what have you in pallet boarding. So hence all the pallet stripping you saw just a moment ago. And it was a chance. Although when we started rebuilding the toilet block, it was amazing. It felt like that was the first sort of constructive thing, apart from repairing the roof and all that, which was more repair. This was building. We're adding something to the building. But when we came to pallet boarding the lobby wall, instead of just boarding it up, we decided to get a little bit creative. And lots of people had a hand in this, both in stripping, sanding, cutting, screwing with a screw gun. That's a pile of fun. Lots of people had a hand in it. And for what seemed like the first time in probably a couple of years since we'd started, we were actually doing something creative with the space. And I can't tell you how good that felt. Yeah, very special. As I say, everybody had a hand in it, which was brilliant. And then we got in the big door, we got to cut the man-sized door, which is our normal daytime entrance, which is rather cool. And you can see the pallet boarding evolving on the inside there. Again, creative and positive and additive, not as we'd been, 18 months already, destructive, cleaning, clearing away, dumping, which all seemed very negative. And of course, new tools starting to arrive, and blokes getting excited about having really fancy tools. That's our metal lathe. It's a Colchester Master, if you're so inclined to know. 3-phase. And there's the toilet taking shape. White Formica board type stuff on the inside, or melamine. and then a sliding door to save space. And it looks cool. And if ever you've wondered, I'm going to hide my screen share. If ever you've wondered, I can't actually, because then I'll look, if I do that and then you can't see it. But look, if ever you've wondered where our background comes from on the SHEDcast, our woody background, there it is. It's actually a photograph of our disabled toilet ceiling. Not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people care. And funnily enough, I was looking at it the other week thinking, if I needed to get that photograph again, could I? No, I couldn't, because it's now got a 1-pin grate light in the middle of the room. So you wouldn't be able to get that nice full panel, what do you know? Anyway, new electrics, we've got 3-phase supply to the shed. But we've had huge support from Island Electrics. Joe, in particular, has been massively helpful. Sometimes sending along some of his guys, sometimes coming along himself, and installing very often at cost or less than a lot of these parts, like the distribution board and all that sort of stuff. So massive thanks to Joe and Island Electrics for that sort of stuff. And skipping back to meetings, more meetings, back in the town digital greenhouse place. And cleaning. Domesticated bunch, aren't we? Don't tell the missus. This is one of my favourite video clips. Can I play you again? You can tell that felt great. So much fun. And there's our Michael. We've now glazed the 3 windows in the south wall, and we were given, strangely enough, sort of 4-foot sheets of laminated glass. So it's 2 sheets of glass and what is effectively like a sheet of polythene in between that's all been bonded together. So it's transparent as a pane of glass, but it's really tough. And what we've done is we've plastered those in, Michael's skills. So we don't need the frame, it's just plastered in, but it's really tough, so it's not likely to smash out anytime soon. A bit more secure than just putting up a single pane of glass, a bit warmer than a single pane of glass. And then we're tiling in the sills inside and out. Nice and creative, good fun. And then, yeah, here's some CCTV footage of another open day. Again, trying to build community awareness, trying to tell people that we're coming. And if you want to get involved and help, that would be great. That's helped along the way. Always draws in a few people. And even if it doesn't draw that many people in, it raises awareness and other people start talking about it. That's been really helpful. I highly recommend that to other sheds. And, you know, getting a bike group in along the way. They all end up talking about chains and sprockets and stuff like that. But it gets people on site and it breaks down the barriers. Really helpful. And along the way, we make hamster shavings, hamster bedding, you know. And lots of people helping, stripping out the old shelves. This wall's now been plastered. You'll see that in a mo. Installing fire alarm cables. Again, people who come and go, they don't necessarily spend every week with us, but they come and go and they help. Absolutely brilliant. It always helps. Looking suspect, eh? And there's the lobby, pretty much finished. We're quite pleased with that. Looks nice when the sun shines through. The photograph doesn't do it justice, but it's like a golden colour. Really lovely. And then we were given a bandsaw, big boys bandsaw, from a guy who runs a wood workshop half a mile away. He'd upgraded to something with a bigger throat. It's got something like an 8-inch depth. And we haven't tested it to that yet, but nice to have, really nice. Startright 4S5, 14S5, sorry, if you're interested, if you're so nerdy. More construction projects. This was a bench specifically to sit our CNC router on. Adrian, one of the Makerspace guys, had built our CNC router, which is an Ox machine. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but we could have that discussion offline if you like. But it's not a bad machine, but there might be better ones around now. But it's got a 4-foot sort of working area. So quite nice. We've done some good stuff. And I've just checked this in. Another company over here, another building supplier, Norman Piet. Big shout out to Norman Piet. Every now and then they have more paint that's mixed up in error or something, and they'll just phone us up, as they did a few weeks ago, and said, "Do you want some paint?" And that reminds me, they phoned me up last week and said, "We got some more. Do you want it?" So I must go down probably tomorrow and pick up some more paints, because otherwise, what are they going to do with it? So they're giving us tins of odd colours of paint. Great. And end of line paints. We've had some Ron Seal wood stuff, and Ron Seal changed sort of the branding on the tins. So anything that was on the shelf when the new branded stuff came in, whatever was on the shelf had to be just taken off the shelf for the new stuff. And they gave us a shout and donated all the other tins, 30 tins of the stuff. Amazing. And we've used that really wisely. Well, it's been very useful. But utterly brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So shout to all shedders. Make connections with your local building suppliers. Going back to the bathrooms, the toilets, the sinks, and what have you, that all came from B&Q, if I remember correctly. And they've supported us with some of that at cost and less in some instances. So thank you to B&Q for that. Big shout outs to everyone, really. There's our Joe working on the electrics. Absolutely brilliant guy from Island Electrics. Shout out again to you. Thank you. And I can't tell you how nice it is to have electric in the shed. So we got 3-phase supply, but for 2 years, we only had a couple of sockets in the north shed, and anything we did anywhere else was big long cable reels to run power anywhere else, on the roof, around the shed, outside, inside. And then finally we had some cable drops sorted out, and still not enough power, and it's a work in progress, but to be able to just plug in wherever you are, amazing. Derek pulling out more sheddy shelvy stuff. New windows in the toilet. We had the windows given to us by an old carpentry workshop. Lovely wooden windows, sash windows, and yeah, the place was closing up. They'd just be dumped. And amazingly, give or take, they fitted the 2 toilet openings. So we got new windows in there. Well done, Michael. Bit of adjustment, all good. And more pallet boarding. That's Nick. Is Nick watching? See if I've got any comments. Nick, is Nick? No, don't know if Nick's watching. But Nick in the Isle of Man, we love you and we look forward to seeing you coming back. Nick stripped hundreds of pallets for us, and once you showed him the screw gun, he was well away, and he did more than half of the pallet boarding, and really creative bits, as diamond shapes and all sorts of stuff. Really cool. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So there's a little bit of Nick in our building. It's great. Absolutely love it. Did we say we'd stripped a few pallets? That's our man. Bonfire night party. That's always good fun. Lots of food, a few sparklers, a few fires, trying to keep warm, electric heater, that sort of stuff. Michael plastering the column in the toilet. I'm whizzing through now. Another good one. I think this was last year for Men's Mental Health Day or something like that. BBC Radio Guernsey asked if they could come and do a live broadcast from the shed. So I urge you to hit up your local radio station and tell them what you're doing, because very often they're tripping over themselves for community stories, stuff what's going on. And they came up and they interviewed a pile of us, and we gave them, yep, you guessed it, bacon butties early in the morning. I think we started at something like 7 in the morning, which was a bit painful and very cold. But we had a pile of fun, and we were on air for an hour and a half or something like that. Blooming motorbikes in the background, I don't know. So I heartily recommend. I think that was Oscar. Hi, Oscar. Heartily recommend getting in touch with your BBC station and whatever other local radio stations you've got, because you can reach a lot of people through that. We were donated a lot of hardwoods from an old carpentry workshop, and Nick and myself, 18 months ago, I suppose now, built this wheelie stand. So it's on wheels, it's pallet based, and mostly recycled wood, but this whole A-frame shelf, so we can, shove a ton of wood around with one or two people. Kind of handy. There's our darling Brian, sort of testing facilities, but always such good fun to work with. And I'll just chip this in. I've just looked at our comments coming in. I'm guessing this might be from Marlene. But just a message, if you're on Facebook, go to the link above, below, or to the side that says streamyard.com/Facebook and click on the link and allow StreamYard, which is this streaming thing that we're doing, allow it to see your face and name. Normally, I don't like these Facebook user anonymous things, but because it's talking about Brian, I'll stick it up. I don't know if that was Brian, if that's Brian's wife, Marlene, that's chipping in. Just saying, Brian used to love being involved, and he absolutely did. Yeah, such good fun. And thanks to you too. I'll tell more about Brian's story, either if not now, at a future show, about how he came to be involved. It's really, really cool. He was 82 early this year, and he didn't think anything of crawling around on the floor. This was trying to install the kitchen. What a revelation of a guy. He'd go to the gym a couple of times a week to try and keep everything limber, and he needed to, because when he was at the shed, he would climb and crawl and crouch and grovel about on the floor, and put me to shame, to be honest. What a darling. And it was Brian, towards the latter part of last year, who really drove forward with, obviously, the bathrooms and stuff like that, but the kitchen. And he really drove me to get up there every day and, right, what are we going to do today? We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do... Absolute diamond. That's another chap, Brian, who's another Brian, actually, who's pops in every now and then, helps us out where he can. Always a card. So there's back to Brian in the kitchen. Yeah, working silly hours. What a diamond. Working on the electrics for all the hob and the what have you. And then we touched on this thing, this event, when Michael, our plasterer, was on a previous show with the SHEDcast. Have a look at it. If you go to sheds.gg and the SHEDcast page, there's a description there. You have a look at the Michael show. Michael was there when we had a group of scouts come in on a Sunday. So we had a group of shedders and a group of scouts, and then we just all sort of paired off and did various jobs around the shed. And Michael taught this youngster how to mix concrete and plaster and how to flick it at the wall, and absolutely brilliant. Michael was in his element because he loves teaching, and the lad was just thrilled to be able to flick muddy stuff against the wall and flick it into a hole and scratch the surface, and such good fun. So that's another tip to other sheds. Hook up with your local organisations like Scouts and Guides and whatever. Time well spent mixing with other people. Really good fun. Yeah, what can I say about this? We have value statements as well as the rules in red. We have these value statements in green. Things like better. Leave this place better than you found it. And we don't always achieve that. Is your shed like that? Go on, be honest. We're getting better. We are getting better. So there's Brian. Again, once we'd hung all the cabinets, what a star. Absolute genius. Concrete works outside with Alan and Michael. More bacon butties. And then the wall where those shelvings came down a few photographs back. We've plastered that because we're going to be building a lean-to shed within the shed with glass walls. So that'll be our super clean room for 3D printers and computers and such. So we've plastered the wall to clean it up. And wonderfully, Michael was happy not to just plaster the wall because he'd do it in, an afternoon. But over the space of about 3 or 4 weeks, we gathered probably about a dozen people in total who all had a go at plastering. And it was a pile of fun. Most hadn't picked up a trowel and some plaster before. Other people had a go but were rusty. And we learnt a whole ton of stuff. Even Uncle Tom from Scotland was with us on that week. And Michael did comment that he could see when Uncle Tom picked up is it hawk? Whilst he was weak in his arms, he was able to pick up, and Michael identified straight away he's done this before. Just because you could see the way he held it, he knew what he had done previously. It's really lovely. And there's a little bit of video of some of the teamwork.
You could do the right hand side.
You just love the teamwork, intergenerational. I was talking to a young guy earlier this morning, prepping for a future SHEDcast, and he's been working on setting up a shed in his area. In fact, he's had 2 startups. We'll talk about that on a future show. But he's really into the intergenerational aspects of a shed. And whilst a shed may well be focused towards retirees or over 55s, actually, there's so much to be gained for everyone if you open it out to be intergenerational. As you saw with this lot of plastering, and as you saw with the scouts who came in and, working with our shedders, there's a lot of youngsters today who don't learn these sorts of practical skills. And a lot of youngsters also who don't have necessarily positive male role models in their lives. And yet we've got this wealth of older shedders who have tons of experience and time and often a heart to share and chip in and share what they know and pass on what they know, which is brilliant. Just a message coming in from anonymous Facebook user. I think it would be an idea to pop up and learn to plaster. I think you're right. Get in touch with us and let us know, and we'll muscle up some more bits of plastering to be done. We've been gifted a large wood lathe. This is Neil, who you might have seen from an early cookeringing show early on in our SHEDcast series. Neil is into cookery, but also cleaning up tools. And recently, he's been making a barbecue and a camp oven, a charcoal oven, which hopefully we'll be using this weekend at the shed. I'll get some footage of that because it's going to be quite exciting. That stuff he's been making at home, welding up during lockdown. Time well spent, Neil. Good job. This lathe sadly burnt a motor out in early December, which was gutting. And then it's taken us quite a number of months to get the motor rewound in the UK. We couldn't find a replacement motor because it's a bit specialist. We couldn't get it rewound locally. The one company that we knew used to do it no longer does it. So we had to send it to Nottingham. And we didn't have a very good time with the courier company, who managed to send the motor to Bristol for a couple of weeks, which isn't on the way to Nottingham, let's be honest. And when we phoned Nottingham, this company called something or other Rewinds or something. Can't think what they're called now. Forgive me, fellas. But if you look up rewinding in Nottingham, if you need something rewound, I recommend them because they've done us a diamond job. When we phoned them up after a couple of weeks to see how it was coming along, they hadn't even received it yet, and the courier company had just left it in a warehouse in Bristol. Needless to say, we've now learnt that the courier company's gone out of business. No surprise there, eh? What goes around comes around. So there's some guys working on cleaning up that lathe. This is before it died. There's Chris working in the what I often call as the single toilet, which is just just a small cubicle, but it does sort of imply that the other toilets are double, which isn't quite right. More bacon butties in front of a plastered wall, I hasten to add, beautifully done. And then I mentioned that I was drinking out of a retro Guernsey mug. Here I am sporting a retro Guernsey, the Guernsey national costume, pretty much. The Retro Festival, end of last year, had these Guernseys made with the retro logo in, comme ça. And £25 of each Guernsey from Guernsey Woolens came to the men's shed, which was incredibly generous. And I think they're still available. So if you want a Guernsey, they are brilliant articles of clothing. Go and have a look at Guernsey Woolens website. And I think on there you might still be able to get a retro Guernsey, in which case £25 comes to the Guernsey Men's Shed. So thank you if you do that. But worth noting that as part of the Retro Guernsey Festival back in, I think it was September, was it? I can't remember now. I think it was September, October. We were asked to build some, everyone has something different, like go-karts or billy carts or push carts or whatever. So I think we built 3 or 4 in the end. And the idea was to have them in kit form so that families could then come along and whiz them together and then race them around the market square where we were having the music event, 50s, 60s retro feel to it all. But the reality was that people didn't want to spend their time zipping things together. They just wanted to push their kids around on the... So we knocked a few of the kits together ourselves, and a lot of fun. I should have chucked in some pictures of that, kids racing around. It was a whole pile of fun. Nice way to get involved with the community. And sometimes called billy carts as well, or I'm trying to think of some of the other names. You can tell me, I'm sure, in the comments. I'm sure you can tell me. Now, it's hard to see what's going on here, but what's in my hands there is a very, very nice bottle of Moet champagne. And this was August last year when I mentioned before that we got a 20-year lease on this shed. Our snag is that we had to slow down a lot for most of early part of last year because we didn't have planning permission for change of use. It's an agricultural site, and to change it, as ultimately we have now agreed that it can be changed to social recreational use, but only on a temporary basis. So in terms of planning permission, we've only got 5 years on site. So when we got that news, we popped open a very nice bottle of bubbly and drank it out of mugs along with our bacon butties. True shed style. There's Alan working on the windows. I think we've mentioned that earlier. Oh, security. We've now got security on the inner door. Electronic security, Arduino based. And you swipe it with your card. Oh, look at that. So we are slowly equipping our guys with access cards. And in due course, all the serious bits of equipment will be card access as well, so that if you're not authorized to use the lathe, if you haven't been checked out and done the course, then you won't be allowed to switch it on. Simple as that, period. But if you are allowed, you'll put it in the reader and the machine will be online to you. Got to work on it yet, but that's our first stage. There it is. Another thing, talking about the media, we've had the TV in a few times, pimping out our guys as TV stars. There's Neil, Dave on his little lathe, turning out lovely bowls and talking up the shed. It's really great to have access to the media. In this instance, I think it was ITV channel, which is our region. So again, nudge to other shedders. Talk to your local TV station. It's a great way of extending your reach. Brian and Rob there, mucking around with support lifting railings for in the disabled toilet, for the wheelchair accessible toilet, and trying to work out how to do it. And the laughs that therefore ensued, as always. Such fun. Cladding the toilet, doing all that sort of business, making a mess, trying to use Chemfix to put bolts into the wall. We'd not used it before. What a mess, what a game, what a faff. Not sure we're going to use them again, but we have to at some point soon. Signage going up on the wall. The wall's yet to be painted, but we've got signage up, which is subsequently blew down in a storm as we got into winter. But it'll go back up again soon. But so nice to have a presence on the wall. And then I can't remember. I think this was another open day. Another open day just to spread the word. Probably had about 50 people in that day. People doing demonstrations of this, that, and the other, and generally just talking up what's available at the shed and what people get out of it. The sort of thing. Old and young. Lots of food, lots of coffee and tea and biscuits. Mark being very domesticated there. That's Dave teaching Derek. And Derek has gone on over lockdown to buy himself one of those small lathes. I can't remember if it's a record lathe. I can't remember. But has been teaching himself over lockdown how to make hamster bedding. And has been seriously getting into it. And I'm hoping to get Derek on sometime soon to talk about his adventures in making hamster bedding on the lathe. And I think some of the byproducts are quite pretty looking as well, the bowls and what have you that he's making. But all good fun, the sharing of skills and the sharing of passion. Top shedding skills, top stuff. More open day type stuff and stuff that's been made in the shed. This was a crib. We've touched on this before. A cot in England called a cot, but all moon-shaped. It had a stand underneath it as well, and a little flip down. You could just see it on the front there, a flip down door where you could store bedding and stuff. And then there's a floor at about this sort of height where Bubby can sleep. Quite a lovely thing. There's Alan working on a new thwart for his boat, which we've covered recently. And then this is bang up to date. This was this last Saturday, Guernsey is no longer on lockdown. Have I mentioned that before? I don't mean to rub it in, but this was our first Saturday properly back and open to the public. We had about a dozen guys come in for bacon buddies, all told, and 7 or 8 guys through the morning and into the afternoon. Really good to see guys back, and guys really getting their teeth stuck into sorting stuff out. So this is our number 2 lathe that hasn't been spun up yet because it came in actually at the start of lockdown. So Rob's taken it upon himself to get that spun up with Dave's help there. And then Dave has been remotoring the big lathe. I helped him hold the motor on while he twiddled the bolts. That was fun. Quite a heavy motor, as you can imagine. There's a lot of copper in there. And yeah, by the end of this last Saturday morning, this lathe was spinning again. Yeah, I can't tell you how good that was. So there's a whole bunch of guys who are all jolly excited now to get stuck in on the big lathe and turn some big bits of wood. And this is pretty much us. This was actually taken back in January, but this is pretty much where we are now. It's my last picture. You'll be glad to hear it's my last picture. Still a mess, but always progress. As JP says, mess is progress. Our next big challenge, which we were working on before lockdown, and now need to pick up that baton again. As you can see, there's just open frames for the ceiling there. We're going to put a ceiling on the southern shed, close it down, warm it up, insulate the walls, insulate the ceiling, and make it much cozier. A place where you can sit around and do something quietly and not freeze your noodles off. We've got a wood stove to go in there as well, big one, like 7 to 9 kilowatt or something like that. Quite a big chunky jet. That's going in. But we've got quite a lot of work to do to get the ceiling up. We've actually got to put new trusses in between the roof trusses, because the roof trusses are not sufficient to hang a heavy plasterboard ceiling with fluffy insulation on top. So that's the next big challenge. But the first hurdle is getting building control permission. Some of the documents are in with them, some of them are yet to go. So watch this space, eh? That is enough for a SHEDcast today. And the anonymous Facebook user says, it's Sean, Brian's stepson. Sean, glad to have you with us. Sean is doing some crazy kayaking challenge at the moment, and is going to be kayaking around the island, which is eminently doable if you get the tides right. If you get the tides wrong, we get really hectic tides around the island. If you get it wrong, you ain't going to make it. So Sean and a few others are doing that and raising money for Men's Shed. So thank you, Sean, very much. We've just got to work out the just giving.gg page. At the moment, this is my whinge at the moment. Mark's been, our chairman's been working on getting a giving.gg page, which is a Guernsey domain, a Guernsey giving site, low fees and all that sort of stuff. The Association of Guernsey Charities, AGC, are involved. And when you go to their website, it says, go to the giving page. And then when you go to that and something doesn't work, it says, go to the AGC site. Excuse me. So we're jumping loops backwards and forwards. And Mark has phoned. If anyone from the AGC is watching, please get in touch with us, because we want to do it and we want to set it up, but you're not answering your emails and the phone numbers doesn't work. So please get in touch with us. If you know anyone in the AGC, please get in touch with us. We want to sort out a giving page for Sean and co, who are kayaking around the island in aid of Men's Shed Guernsey. And then Dan just chips in. Great stuff. So much work. Dan, you wouldn't believe it. And most of it a joy to work on together, I'm sure. Well done all. Yeah, well, I echo that. It has been a joy, and it is a joy to work on it with all of these guys. And we are welcome to any new guys who want to come along, always. And yes, well done to everyone. I can't believe, actually, when you look back at 3 years worth of photographs, 3.5 years almost, it's sort of a bit of a blur. And you know it's been painful at times and just really heavy going. But actually, you look at where we are today, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing. The North Shed, since November when we opened the men's shed properly, the North Shed has got benches laid out with a good number of tools ready and accessible, and new tools coming online all the time, like you've just seen the new motor going onto the big lathe. And the MIDI lathe is now getting up and running, and we've got a small lathe, benchtop lathe, that's being remoted as well. That needs rewiring at the moment. Dave, wink, wink. So there's lots coming, and we've got a massive table saw that's been donated. We've got so much stuff, a laser cutter that's up and running. If you want to come and play, you are more than welcome to come and play. We would love to see you. And that is probably enough for today. Would you not agree? It's been a long time since 15 weeks of Shedcasts now, and I've mentioned the Guernsey Shed lots of times. I hope you've enjoyed having a little window in on our journey as a shed. Setting up a shed for some sheds goes so quickly and easily, and I can't say I'm jealous. It's an enviable position to find yourself in, but that's brilliant. I'm really pleased if you've got an easy path to a shed. We were talking to the guys in Aldridge Shed, a few weeks ago, and they were given an amazing space. Which shed was it recently? I lose track. But a shed that had been set up previously as a community project. Bloody motorbikes. A shed that had been set up as a community shed, and then the project had collapsed. And then a men's shed was just up and coming, and the landowner said, "We've got a workshop. It's all tooled up and ready to go. Do you want it?" Boom. And they walked in, switched everything on, and off they go. Amazing. It's enviable, and I'm very pleased for you if that's been your shed experience. But for every shed out there that is struggling to find premises or work on premises or get their place up to scratch, I know your pain all too well, and we all know your pain, we all share it. But I encourage you, every one of you, to get stuck in once lockdowns are lifted. Get stuck in and shed together. Get some bacon butties on, or whatever you require. Grilled mushrooms, doesn't matter what it is. Build your community, and the rest will follow, and have fun together. And don't take it too seriously. If you take it too seriously, you fall into the trap that we've fallen into, as Mark was sharing earlier. He and I have both fallen into lots of troughs of despair. Where's this going? How could this even possibly ever happen? And then someone else picks you up the following week. Yeah, okay, we'll keep going, and we'll keep going, and we keep going. We're 3.5 years in, we still keep going, but man, we've come a long way, as you've seen. So thank you for sticking with it thus far today. I know it's been a long one. From a Shedcast that had no guests this morning, it was a bit of a panic on my part, because all the people that I'd been speaking to couldn't do today. And I kept trying, a number of people, speaking to people this morning. Could you come and do a Shedcast? Couldn't do today. Actually, as I was talking to the young man that I mentioned earlier, who you might see next week, as I was walking him through some of our Guernsey pictures, telling him about the Guernsey Shed. Excuse me. The old hay fever kicking in again. That must mean it's summer. But as I was talking through that guy, some of our photographs, it made me realize that actually this is worth sharing with everybody. We've got a big story to tell. We're not there. It's not over. But the story so far, we're getting there with lots of people's help on the ground and above and beyond businesses that I've mentioned, many businesses that I've not even remembered. But as Mark said earlier, you know who you are, and we thank you for all of your input. Thank you to our viewers for watching, each and every one of you, whether you're viewing live, Facebook and YouTube, or after the fact on Facebook and YouTube. We look forward to seeing you again. I'll stick up this little overlay thing. If you want to have a look at Patrick Abrams' talk, which is what's there over there. This is funny. That started it all for us. Point your smartphone camera, just get the camera app open and point it at that, and it should hopefully recognize that as a QR code, as it's called, and it will link to the YouTube video which Patrick Abrams gave 3.5 years ago for us. That's what started it here, and it might, maybe, start something off for you. Just getting an email in the background from Andy Ryland. I think he's watching, saying, just watching the Shedcast, it's been fantastic show, inspirational, the story of your shed. Thank you, Andy, very much for chipping that in. Much appreciated. It's great to have you all with us. And see you next week. I think we've got some fun stuff coming up next week. As I say, the young man I was talking to earlier might be on. And it might be, if we can work it out, might be a youth sort of slant to next week's show. We often talk about men's sheds being the old guys. Well, actually, as we've talked about here, there's a lot to be said for old and young guys mixing. And I know that the guys up in Whitby have got a youth shed. So we're going to try and hook something together and have a bit of a youth focus next week. So we'll see you then. I think that's it. Can't believe I'm finally shutting up. It's great to have you with us. Another email coming in. Who is it? It's Andy again. What does it say? Oh, big smiley face with rosy cheeks. Thanks, Andy. Normally, people put in the comments on YouTube and Facebook, Andy, rather than sending me an email. But anyway, have I mentioned the Shed Fest? 2 weeks' time, we'll see you at the Shed Fest virtually. It's all online, streamed like this, so you can watch and add comments and take part and laugh and drink biscuits and tea, eat tea. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. No, we'll see you in 1 week for the next Shedcast, and then in a couple of weeks for the Shed Fest. À la prochaine, as we say in Guernsey, which is till next time. Cheerio.